Hi everyone, my name is Lewis, I'm from Revizto, and today I'm going to be showing you how we can use Revizto 5 new functionality to start comparing design and fabrication models, allowing you to easily track progress in the model, but also see areas where the models no longer align. In this session, we're going to show you how you can set up the components for comparison using search sets and our object tree. We'll then be looking at Revizto's appearance profiler to set up the views, and then we'll be looking at how we can communicate the differences between the teams. We have made an assumption in this case that the fabrication model is actually based on the design model, and as such, the locations and the sizes of the components in both models are mostly the same. And just a quick disclaimer, the comparison that I'm showing you of the components is entirely visual. The process is aimed at helping users to quickly identify discrepancies between them, but it's not automatic. There's no way of automatically comparing it. This is a manual process, but it does give you very quick and easy results to understand what's going on. And finally, in this example that I'm giving today, I'm going to be comparing models from Revit with models from Tekla. So let's get started. I'm going to jump to my 3D space. I'm going to look at my object tree, and I'm going to first of all isolate my structural design model coming in from Revit. I can right click on this to isolate. In the example that I'm giving, I want to compare the steelwork from the design model and the steelwork from the fabrication model. But the design model here currently contains concrete and other components that I'm not interested in. So first things first, we need to create a search set that's going to show me just the steelwork on the project so that I can start comparing that with our Tekla project. To do this, we're going to use our find items, and we're going to create a search set for the steelwork on the project. To do this, we add a condition, which is a property condition. My property type is going to be category, and I want to choose this in this instance from the Revit type category. And then my value, we can scroll down and I can choose structural framing and structural columns. We can do find all and isolate. So we're starting to get there, but we've still got some concrete elements, and we still have the potential to load structural framing and columns in from other models that we don't want. So to do this, we're going to add another condition. And we're going to look for our source file. It's our source file, and we're going to take this from our structural model. And then we also want to make sure that we only pick up the steel components from this model and not the concrete. So in here we can add another property condition. We're going to type in structural material. And I'm going to choose this from my material list. And this time I'm going to do contains. And I'm just going to type in the word steel. And now we say find all, and we isolate that. And now I'm happy that I've got all the steelwork that I want in the design model. So I'm going to save this as my steelwork search set. So we select save and update. I'm going to save as new. We're going to call this structural design steelwork. And say OK. And that's now saved as a search set, which means that whenever I come into Revizto, I can now just simply activate that one and we can isolate it, giving me the perfect starting point for doing my comparison with my Tekla model. Now that we've got the steel design model isolated, we can start looking at the fabrication model. So I'm going to go in my object tree. I've got my steel fabrication model here, and we can isolate that. That now loads in. And because it's a steel fabrication model, it only contains steelwork. So in this case, I don't need to do anything with it in order to be able to isolate out the components that I want to in a better way. I've already got all the steelwork visible on my screen straight away. So we've now got everything that we need in order to start setting up the view where we can carry out the comparison. So the first thing that I need to do is show both my steel fabrication model and my structural design steelwork on the screen at the same time so that we can start setting it up. This is quite easy to do, so I'm just going to return back to my home view just to show you how easy this is. We're going to go to our appearance profile at the top here, and I'm going to remove everything from this screen. I don't need anything in my presets. So I'm going to activate my structural design steelwork, and we're going to isolate that. So now we've got the structural design steelwork isolated. And then in my object tree, I'm going to go to my steel fabrication model, right click, unhide. And now in this view, I've got both the design steelwork and the fabrication steelwork visible on my screen, but only that, so I don't have to worry about anything else interfering. The next thing that we're going to start doing here is to start colouring up the model. So we want to do this in a way that allows us to compare the models easily and quickly and visually so that we can see it straight away. And for me, the best way to do this would be to set the steel fabrication model up as a solid color and set my design steelwork model with a sort of transparent color so that they'll blend together. And again, this is really easy to do. So I can just come to my steel fabrication model on the left-hand side here on my object tree. I can right click and we can change the color. In this case, I'm going to choose kind of this minty green, but any sort of color will work with this process. So that's now done, and now everything in my steel fabrication model is now this solid green color. And at the moment, my steel fabrication, my steel design model is still set to be white. So we now want to change the color of that. So again, I can select everything using my search set. We can right click and we can change the color. So I'm going to choose kind of just red in this situation, and that's now added that to my view. At the moment, having red and green both as solid colors, they're both fighting with each other, so it's not actually that clear to understand where the components are aligning and where they're not. So we want to now make the design steelwork model, the red model, transparent. So again, I'm just going to activate that, right click and say transparency, and we can now make this 50% transparent. And now what you see in the view, if we start to close this down so we can see it closer up, is that the transparent components have now gone directly behind the solid color. So it really easily and really quickly makes those disappear. So when the models are in the same place, when they're aligned, I'm only seeing the steel fabrication information. And anywhere where the steel fabrication model is in a different location, or for instance, they haven't yet modeled it and it's still in progress, I can see that really quickly, really easily, no effort at all. It's just there for me in that screen. So the first thing we want to do here now is save this appearance profile into Revizto so that we can come back and use it at a later date. And to do that, we literally just do save and update on our appearance profile, save as new, and we can call this design versus fabrication steelwork models, and save that. And that's now stored within Revizto, so we can always come back to this. And as long as the information in the criteria gets updated, so when the criteria that meets the steel design steelwork search set gets updated, and when components in the fabrication model get updated, it will automatically be added to this appearance profile. So I know that it's going to be kept up to date as the project progresses, allowing me to continue to track and observe the differences between the two. And now the final thing really left to do is to communicate this to the team so that we can sort of alert the steel fabricator or alert the structural engineer that the models are out of alignment or that the models need to be completed. So the easiest way to do this, as with anything in Revizto when it comes to creating issues, will be to set up a stamp to do this. So I'm going to go into my stamp settings. I'm going to create a new stamp, and we're going to call this one Fabrication, and this is Steel Fabrication to do, and we're going to add this to a category called Model Compare, and we can say OK to that. I can then come over, and again I can assign this straight away to my steel fabricator, so they'll be notified automatically. I can then also create a stamp if I want to that goes straight to the structural engineer. If it's a case of the fabrication model is in a different location and the structural engineer needs to do a comparison or do a review just to make sure that it's okay and it's acceptable. But for the example here, I'm just going to use this steel fabrication to do model comparison stamp to raise the issue. So we can then go back into the 3D and we can start to run through the model and we can start to review. So here I've got kind of a stair and I want to look around, and we can clearly see that the beam across the stair location here is missing from the steel fabrication model. So in this case, we want to create a stamp. We're going to go to our model compare, our steel fabrication, and again, we can then just click and we can now place that automatically. And what this now means is that the steel fabricator is going to get notified in Revizto. They can come in here, they can look at the issue tracker, they can double click on the issue, and in Tekla they'll automatically be taken to the location in the model, and then they can actually add that beam in, and then later on update the model into Revizto, and then reapply the appearance template, and then straight away we'll then see a green component in place of this red component so that we know that it's there. So this process, really straightforward. Again, I can see more beams missing. We can just come over here, we can just click and place. And again, simple as that, really easy. Probably couldn't be simpler to raise this issue with the team. And because it's coordinate based, as I said, we can then jump straight back into the model and get those components added in very little time. So very easy to do, very easy process. So finally, just to recap this process, everything is pretty straightforward. First of all, we just need to be able to isolate out the components that we want to compare. So in this case here, we use the cert set to do that. Again, pretty straightforward. You can work out different options to isolate those objects out as you need to. Once you've got those cert sets, it's all about then setting up the appearance profiles. And again, to do that, we can just easily isolate and control those views. So when we look at the appearance template here, we've isolated the cert set, we've unhidden the model, and then we've just started to color it up. And it's good to use really contrasting colors when you do this so that it's obvious when one object gets sort of absorbed by the other. There's no point doing sort of different shades of green on this because it will be unclear. So choose contrasting colors so it's really obvious. And then make sure that you set sort of one of the models to transparent. So in this case, I've set the design model to be transparent. So that allows me to see where the fabrication model is different. If I were to set the fabrication model to transparent, I could then easily see where the design model is in a different location as well. So you can easily switch that around and play with it to get different results. But the process is, again, really straightforward. We then save that appearance profile. We can then start running around the model, start looking for areas where we've got these sort of components missing or in different locations. And then once we've done that, we can then create an issue, communicate it with the team. They can then get into their models and then they can sort of make sure that that area is modeled by the next time they do the upload to Revizto. And because we've used cert sets, which is based on criteria and a model, when those models get updated, as long as the criteria are met, it will automatically update that into the appearance template. So later on, 2 weeks, 4 weeks down the line, I run that appearance template, and what I should be seeing is a lot of this sort of red area turning green to let me know that the steel fabrication model now has components in those locations. Simple as that, really straightforward. I hope you found this session sort of interesting, and I hope you sort of thinking about different use cases for it and how you can make this work on your projects. Any questions, do just let us know. But thank you very much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed it, and speak soon. Bye-bye.